creative kids and creative adults. So today we are going to do decoupaging, which I told you we would be doing. We're also going to preview a couple of books for things you could do at home. And then I'm going to give you a preview of our Imagine Your Stories of what we're going to do next week's sneak peek. So before we get started, I want to remember to shout out our hashtags. It's hashtag Team Kentucky, hashtag Healthy at Home, and hashtag Together Kentucky. So mention those tags when you mention us or when you share us, and we would appreciate it. All right, so let's get started with decoupage. So I'm going to be totally upfront with you guys. This is a messy business. I actually like messes. I have been a messy Bessie my whole life. And this is one of my favorite messy Bessie things to do, decoupaging. I will say to you the things you will need. First of all, you see my nice plastic. Get yourself, if you don't have like a plastic tablecloth, just get a trash bag. Couple trash bags, lay them on the table, and I'm going to show you why. You don't necessarily want it to be paper. I'm going to show you why when we get into this. The next thing you're going to need is obviously some glue. Elmer's glue works fine. You don't have to have the specific decoupage glue. You can use school glue, and I'm going to show you what you can do with that. The other thing you're going to want to do is have some magazines that you can cut out things from. And then you're gonna need, so you're gonna need your scissors. I like these brushes the best. These are not the only kinds of brushes that you can use. You can use regular, just little paint brushes. But I will say, make sure you keep them wet, and also make sure that you wash those out very quickly. These, I'm gonna say to you, go ahead and get your brush wet. First of all, start with a wet brush. It just helps things to go on much smoother. You don't want it drippy or sopping wet. Just slightly damp is what you want. All right. And the other thing you're going to want is a box. So I told you last week we're going to do a cheese box, and I didn't do the whole thing because I'm going to show you some of the tips. You've probably done decoupage, but then you got bubbles or you got wrinkles. I'm going to show you how you can get less of that. And more of a smooth, sturdy box. So for little kids, I'm gonna say, you know those boxes, the smaller boxes that jewelry comes in? You can decoupage that. Anything can be decoupaged. As yes, last week I was telling you, you can actually decoupage tables. We had in my house an old desk, and it was gonna be thrown out. It was perfectly fine old desk. We just didn't like the looks of it anymore, so I decoupaged the top of it and gave it new life, and so now it's like my craft table. So let's get started with our box, and I've already done a bit of this, so I'm going to share with you my process for doing this thing. I like to first choose a color theme. This is where little kids can come in handy. They get to use the magazine. Let's say you choose a purple background, and I always want to choose a background because I don't want everything covered up. I just want some things just to lend color. So I will show you pieces that I have cut out, and this is just shards of paper. I like maps, love maps. So that's what I have done. They don't have to be perfectly cut out, but because this is all background. The thing that I do want to show you is that the things that you do want to spotlight, I like to give like more definite cuts to. This will probably have to be a mom or a dad or an older kid to do more precision cutting. Or you can let them practice, which I like.
Hi from Evelyn.
Okay. Hey Evelyn, how you doing? I'm glad you guys are joining me. So the other thing is words. So if there are words, you might want to cut those out more specifically. And I like rocks, gemstones. So for my box, this is going to be kind of my gemstone box. I actually collect rocks. I collect lots of things, but I really like rocks and pretty rocks, and not just gemstones. I like rocks outside, pretty rocks. I like rocks from places I've gotten to go, that kind of thing. So that's what this is going to be for me. Kind of like just an homage to my like of rocks. So, I will say if you have edges, round edges, the thing you can do is lay it down on whatever piece of paper and you just use it to go ahead and measure off with your pen, and then you cut it to the size that you want. Or if you don't care about that, you can just wrap around, and I'm going to show you a bit of that. But for this, I wanted to go ahead and get my edge on, and you can see it's all in a map. And so then I'm going to start here. So here's my glue. I'm going to tell you how to do this. Not everybody does it the same way. I'm just going to put in a very little bit because I don't want to pour out a lot right now. But I'm also going to thin it with a little water. Let me show you. I mean, just a little bit. Now, I may have thinned it too much. Nah, I like it. Actually, yeah, I need a little more glue. Because what you don't need to make it into soup. You want it to be a little sticky, well, a little soppy, but you can see it's kind of hanging on. It's not like dripping out. So you still want that kind of a consistency, but a little thinner than regular glue. And here's why. So I'm just going to take, and this is my background because I'm going to cover this up. I'm going to take this and cover it. You're going to want to first lay on your glue onto the surface that it's going to and do it all the way. And here's where this plastic table is going to come in handy. Flip it over and you're going to do the back of whatever it is right on there, and it'll pull up a lot easier than if it's paper. So I'm going to put it right up against there, and I'm going to get my fingers all sticky and messy. And I'm just going to roll it out. And if there's glue on there, go ahead and let it be on your fingers. See how I'm smoothing that? Now, what's going to happen is it will crinkle some, but the fact that you've taken your hands and smoothed it will help it not to crinkle much. I think you can see there's probably a little crinkle right there, but pretty good. You know, not a lot of crinkle. So, here's how I lay down edges like this. I will just go back in and cut it like that. And then add a little glue here. Lay that down and make it rounded since my surface is round. And again, take some of that excess glue and just wipe it right over there. Don't be afraid of the glue. You're in control. All right. So we're going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to clip and lay it down. Smooth it around the edge. So you want it to fit to the form. I'm just going to stick my finger in there and do that. And that makes it lay right down. Any edges that are sticking up, they lay right down when you do that. So, all right. Let's see how I did that. Let me see. That one actually pulled out. So don't be scared. It's just paper. Just smooth it. Stick my finger back in there. We're going to do that, and it'll lay it right down. So that's how you do that business. And you're going to cover your whole box like this. Stick my fingers in the water. So after you start to cover your whole box, and you see this is just my background kind of stuff, that's then when I'm going to come back, and then you will let that dry a little bit. It's still a little tacky, so I'm not going to do it right now because I don't want it to get gummy. So I'm then going to lay my word on here, probably crossways, something like that. But I'm going to do just what I just showed you. I'm going to cut it in the right places. And I don't mind when my words trail off to the side because you can still read it. So you cut it, lay it down, and it looks really good. And like I said, these things will, my things that I cut with precision will go on and end up being my final product. So the thing I wanted to tell you about when you're all done with your box, you need to let it dry after you do it with the glue, and you get your whole entire surface covered. Let it dry for about 1 to 2 hours. After you come back, it shouldn't be sticky at all to touch. It's probably not cured all the way through, but that's okay. After you come back, you're gonna glue, you're gonna decoupage all the way over again, the whole thing. And what this does is it solidifies it as a unit. So even if you have things that are sticking up, that's the time to fix those. Go ahead and glue, 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 lay them down, but glue all over the entire project, top and bottom. And if you want to, I will show you this. In my first one that I did, I actually did the inside. And the other little nifty trick that's going on in here is these are actually real pictures of my friend's family. So if you would like to use your own personal pictures, you can. Just make photocopies. You can do it black and white, you can do color, just make paper copies of them. I have done decoupage boxes for both of my brothers for gift boxes, for giving them little mementos of my mom that we all, picture of my mom. I did a box and had it in there, but it was pictures of all of us when we were younger on the box. So yeah, don't be afraid to use anything that you can turn into paper that you would like. That's something you can use. I'll show you that. Another picture. So yeah, get out your pictures and you do that. Or the other thing is newspaper. Newspaper is one of my favorite papers to use because it's super easy. If you like the comics, and I do, they're colorful, and especially there's some, everybody probably has their own favorite comic, but this particular comic, Blondie and Dagwood, was an old one, and we found old newspaper in an attic, and we wanted to preserve it, and this is a great way to do that. It's like you could see even on the back, I don't even know what year this is, but it is not like, it might be, oh, here you go, 1970, October. So we wanted to preserve that, and we used the whole thing. We just cut it up in strips and made the whole box that. And I keep art supplies in this. So again, get really creative with what you want to cover with. The thing, again, that I was saying about newspaper, it's super thin already. And yes, you have to do the same process for it, but it lays down, it obeys much easier than some of the slicky paper. This, it might have a little bit of fight back, but you can still win. So just don't be afraid of the glue on your fingers. All right? So I just want to go back and remind you, the number one thing you want to remember is to cut first. Everybody gets involved at that point. Let the littles choose what colors, let them cut out pieces that they want to be for the more decorative on top pieces. So get all of your cutouts ready before you even start with the glue, because that becomes a mess if you try to do it all at the same time, at least for me. I'm already too messy, so I don't need to deal with all of that at the same time. So cut out first, then get your glue solution ready. Pour some of your glue into a smaller container, add a little water. It doesn't have to be soupy, but you want to thin it just a little bit, or I like it that way. Makes it easier, because you can see my hands now, they're dry, there's no glue on them. You wet it down just a bit and you can get rid of the glue much easier too. So then you're gonna remember to glue on the surface that the box that you're doing, and glue the pieces of paper on the back. And when you're all done, you wanna glue again. You wanna glue the entire project. And so for my last trick, you might notice that this is a little shiny. That is not accidental. After it's all dried, when you've done that whole unifying wash with the decoupage, let it dry overnight. When you come back, separate your pieces, and then you can add like a clear glaze. This does two things for you. It strengthens your box, so it's much more durable, and it gives you a nice gloss. It looks a little bit more finished. And especially if you're going to use it as a gift box, it's kind of a nice thing. The other thing that I have done, and I don't have anything pictured here, again, I like to embellish. So if you have those stickers, 3D stickers, or even ribbon, you want to tie on a ribbon, you can hot glue to this after you've done this, and it won't rip your paper. So those are all things, and you can hear that is very hard. I've carried this in the rain, and it has not, it doesn't bother it at all once you do that. So all those sealing techniques really do work for you. So take your time, don't rush through it, and do a good job. So you guys, I'm also gonna ask you again, please send me pictures, and I realize you're probably doing this on your own time, which I'm grateful for, but when you have a minute, send me some pictures at yolanda@scottpublib.org. All right? I want to remind you again, we have a Creative Kids playlist. So if you just want to tune in and your family wants to sit down and do some crafts, you can go to our website and you can look for the Creative Kids playlist, and you can just play them one after one after one, or find the specific one that you were looking for. So check us out there. All right, the other thing I want to do today is I want to introduce you to some books that I think you might like. This is a paper craft book. I think this is for younger people as well as mid and older children. You can see some of the precision cutting on the front, but they also have in this book things that little people can do too, using straws, layering, cutting paper. It's a good skill to let kids do it themselves. I know it's easier for parents to cut things out for them, but their little hands need to practice. They need to strengthen their gross and other skills, gross motor skills. So that one I like for that reason. And this is more in alignment with what we were talking about today, crafts from paper mache. So this is kind of a form of paper mache, and you probably have all experienced something like blowing up a balloon and covering it with newspaper and glue to get a shape. That's kind of what this is too, but we were just covering boxes today. But it has more ideas in here about the things you can do more in depth, probably for older kids or kids with parents. All right, I think these will be fun books. It's crafty ideas with paper and crafts from paper mache. So our sneak peek is, I don't have anything prepared for us because I kind of want to do a week to week based on our summer reading thing. So for those of you, we are still going ahead with our summer reading. It's just all online. So if you haven't, sign up for Beanstack and get yourself signed up. So what you're going to do is you're going to record your minutes on Beanstack, and there are tutorials on how to get on Beanstack on our website. So go there, sign up your kids, sign up yourself, keep log of your minutes, and join us in that way. We are all virtually connecting for summer reading this year, for obvious reasons. So our theme this year is fairy tales. And it's Imagine Your Story. So our next week Creative Kid is going to be making up our own character masks. So you're going to need some paper, or I guess you could do it cardboard, but you don't have to. It could be big paper, so I'm thinking more like a poster board, but also big paper would work. So come with some big paper, some crayons and pencils, and we will have a good time. So hope you guys are staying safe and being healthy. We do miss you, and thank you guys for chiming in. Hello, and we will see you soon.